And welcome once again to the Liberty Lounge podcast. I'm Johnny B, and joining me to my left is Meatloaf himself. It is Jared of Guns and Gadgets, and out there we call him String Cheese. He's got a new beard, looking great. It is Anthony the Armed Scholar. All three of us. What happened? This was not planned. It was I don't know. Did y'all do No Shave November? We haven't been together in a month, and we all rolled into the studios today, and we're like, what happened, Grizzly Adams? Was this a plan?
I gave up shaving for December.
Is it for Lent?
Yes.
Okay. What happened to you, Anthony? Anthony's looking very, I didn't even recognize Skinny Boy out there. Skinny Boy rolls in with a beard. What's happened? Your balls dropped? Did puberty finally hit? What's going on?
Yeah, I finally went through puberty. Yeah, the wavel's finally dropped.
Yeah,
no, it's
finally went through puberty. Yeah.
Just pure laziness. And then once it starts going, you're like, I'm going to run this for a bit.
My balls is dropped. All right. Like we were talking before we pressed record, like where do we even start right now? I think folks out there would be, I think y'all would agree with us. It's freaking crazy out there. Jared, hit us. What's your topic? We got a lot today.
Oof. Let's start with the biggest, I guess, is does Donald Trump get sentenced to any time this Friday?
No, he ain't getting sentenced nothing. He's a billionaire. Billionaires don't go to jail. Anthony, what do you think?
No, it's, and some of that stuff that the order had already had indicated that they're just going to affirm some of the stuff they had said prior. So I don't know. He's not getting anything.
How about B-side? Does the Supreme Court take it up today or tomorrow? Because he made the appeal to them this morning.
They might. Anthony's more of our judicious person. I don't know the right verbiage because I didn't go to law school, but
Counselor.
But I don't think Donald J. Trump, billionaire, ex-president of the United States, will ever see the inside of a jail cell. And let me say it this way: if Hunter Biden gets a pardon, Donald J. is getting a pardon.
From who?
I don't know. Like
Himself.
One person who can.
The system.
Yeah. I don't know if the Supreme Court will. They got so much on their emergency dockets right now. I mean, they're hearing the TikTok ban here in 2 days on an expedited basis. They got so much going on. I think they just push it out. And I think all this goes away once, he's in office. I think it all just, I mean, they might try to spin some, the media, they spin up all this crap. The question is, what is the newest thing going to be? But I think all the current lawsuits are going to go away once he's in office.
We are down to the single days until he is in office. Will he make it, or will the left have one more trick up their sleeve? Any more disinformation or psyops?
I don't think they're going to stop just because he's inaugurated. I think it's just going to continue. They want him gone at all costs.
I'm saying will there be something big between now and when he goes in?
Quite possibly. I think they want to have another January 6th type event coming up to the inauguration, but I think that most people see through that now.
It's wild. I did see a thing where Trump has threatened to pardon all J6 folks on day one. The left will lose their freaking minds.
Yeah, and I saw something last night when I was doom scrolling that there was the DOJ last night expedited charges on 200 of the J6ers to try to make it more difficult for the Trump administration to do those pardons on day one. It's interesting. I mean, they're doing everything they can in the last week and a half to make it harder for the Trump administration anyway. I mean, look, today, I think it's today that Biden's signing the order that's going to make it, I guess you can't drill or frack on any of our coastal shelf. Square footage is like 500,000 acres, or 500 million acres or something like that they won't be able to drill on.
My son was talking about this over the weekend. He said that, and he is turning into a American scholar. Like he's explaining stuff to me these days, that the original plan between when the election happened and the inauguration, there was always time in there because it was horse and buggy days, and they were having to arrange travel. Mm-hmm. And the way we are now, my son was like, it should be as soon as the election is certified, you should have about an hour left in office. Like literally pack your bags and go, because you shouldn't be allowed to make any. The people have spoken. You should not be allowed to make anything. And now we have this full like 6 or 8 weeks where they can do BS, but that won't get changed. Anthony, that ain't gonna get changed, is it? Nobody's gonna like actually fix the system.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's funny when you really look at the purpose behind a lot of like our system. Back in the day, I think it was the Supreme Court used to have to travel by train to like all the different jurisdictions. Because they just couldn't control a lot of the stuff, and they didn't have an actual physical place they were sitting. Might be getting some of my history wrong, but I remember like that was a weird thing that I was like, wow, like it's interesting to think about like the founding times, why things were set up the way that they are, and we've had these certain traditions that are in place. And it's just led to this lame duck period. But always, even during that lame duck period, the current administration tries to do as much as possible, like tons of additional funding for Ukraine and all of that other stuff to, fill their pockets a little bit more before they're out. So
yeah, there's too much money to be made in this last month. My understanding, this is hearsay, but that all of those pardons, how many thousands of pardons did Biden do in the last month, or his wife do in the last month? That there are financial price tags attached to a lot of those, and or blackmail. By all accounts, or some accounts, Hunter Biden was not going to be pardoned, and he literally had to threaten his dad with all sorts of nonsense. But then there's so much money to be made. This Ukraine situation is, several people have said, it's the biggest transference of illegal wealth ever, and that's putting the Nazi gold and the Jewish gold under the table as number two.
And COVID, that was a lot too.
COVID, yeah, a lot of money.
How about yesterday they announced that the $1.8 million that was given to Western North Carolina and East Tennessee for Hurricane Helene, not $1 was given to a victim.
Not $1 was given to a victim. We are right now about, 11 miles from ground zero. I was down in Asheville, North Carolina on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Holy crap, it's bad. You've been down there to Biltmore Village. It's horrific down there. And not $1 of relief has gone to the actual victims. I mean, I always immediately go back to when the situation in Haiti happened, and there was $1 billion transferred to the Clinton Foundation. They literally, on paper, and it's documented, used part of the money for Chelsea's wedding. And if that kind of crap goes on, those people, they're living in tents. It's 18 degrees outside right now, and probably lower in the mountains of North Carolina, and they're sleeping in tents.
I'm still thinking about there's some guy that wanted to marry Chelsea Clinton. She's ugly as a foot.
Yeah.
Hey, some guys like feet,
Not on the face, though.
Oh, geez. Well, to learn more about Chelsea Clinton's genetics and her DNA, just Google the name Webster Hubble or Webb Hubble, and you'll see why she looks the way she does, apparently like a foot. All right, Brownells is sponsoring today's episode. How awesome is that? We are moving into a new year. Y'all got any projects that you're going to be looking at buying stuff for? Me personally, I just outfitted a shotgun and put a new red dot on it. The first place I went was Brownells to shop. What you got going on this year?
Well, I'm still wrapping up the plans for my bolt gun. They just released the build video I did with them yesterday, and we're going to announce something really, really cool. Check out Brownells, the build video I did with that, and stay tuned right up to SHOT Show in 2 weeks here. We got a big announcement.
Anthony, any Brownells shopping for this year? What you got?
I'm waiting for, so I should have bought it during Black Friday, but I didn't, like a dummy. But they have a Glock 17, Glock 19 slide that it comes completed, and it's ported and cut. And I really wanted it. It was in stock. I just didn't buy it because I'm overly frugal, and then it's out of stock. And now I got that notification. I'm telling our guys at Brown, the second it comes in, let me know, I'm buying it. So that's the next purchase for sure.
Big thank you to the folks at Brownells out in Grinnell, Iowa. I'm not going to SHOT Show. I know you guys are, but I am going to be watching their social media because it's so much fun over SHOT Show week, just watching social media. So big thank you to the folks out in Grinnell, Iowa. Woo!
Speaking of SHOT Show, thank you to all of our viewers who voted us to the top 5 for the podcast of the year at the Gundies.
Top 5. That's not bad.
Not bad. We're up against some stiff competition, but we're just happy to be where we are.
That's what she said. Yeah. Thank you to everybody voting for us for the Gundies. And how exciting our little podcast that could. We're just chugging right along, doing our very best. Can we talk about aliens now? Come on, y'all. We talked about all sorts of stuff. Anthony, take us through it.
Aliens, the Tesla thing. And Johnny, you're way more down the rabbit hole, but I'm sure you guys, if you've been watching X, Twitter, any social media, if you've watched the Sean Ryan podcast, where he's also against us in the top 5, which means we have no chance to win the podcast.
We are the splash of water. No, we're the algae and the splash of water next to the pond, next to the river, next to the lake, next to the ocean from Sean Ryan. But we're glad to be here.
We're finishing number 5, boys.
Top 5.
Yeah, but he did that whole podcast with the email that came from the individual who allegedly, maybe not, blew himself up in the Tesla truck outside of Trump Tower in Vegas. In that email, he talks about UAPs and gravitic propulsion systems that China has and that the U.S. has. And then also, I think the second part of that email was talking about some war crimes, I think, that were committed that he wanted to blow the whistle on. And that has started a whole rabbit hole of stuff that I can't even keep track of because it's changing especially that first day that podcast came out, it was changing by the hour of people reporting stuff. So.
Yeah, people were hitting it and saying, oh, because when you look, for those that didn't see it, Matthew Livelsberger, that's the Cybertruck guy, allegedly. He had the Cybertruck. He rented it for himself. Was he the one that was blowed up in it? We don't know, but he sent an email to a guy named Matthew Shoemate. Shoemate is an Instagrammer and kind of a investigative reporter, ex-military kind of guy. Really cool dude. I really liked him on the show. And then Matthew Shoemate, reached out to Sean Ryan, sits down with Sean Ryan and shows this email. So it's all about an email that came in. Sean Ryan showed Chase that it looks by all accounts that it's legit. Then people are like looking at it and dissecting it, and there's a cursor in it. And you can see a cursor, and you can see some squiggle lines where the word processor, I almost said food processor, with a food processor or word processor, and we're saying, hey, this word is misspelled, which means it was currently being typed rather than a screenshot. Then, so people said the email was fake. Then an hour later, people are like, no, they dumped it in, copied and pasted it into a word processor so they could redact certain sections. So we are probably leaning towards, it's probably a legit email. There's a lot in there, Jared. I think I know what the crux of the email is. What do you think it is?
I think it was more of a wake-up call rather than it was gravitic propulsion system centric. I think he was probably hinting at what some of these drones that you don't hear anything about now anymore, what those are, because they're, according to him, that's China. They've been doing it for a long time, and the government knows about it. But I don't know, man. His email was all over the place. There was so much in there to tear apart. I don't think it was just specifically that. I think it was more of a wake up call to, I don't know, maybe get the American people out of their recliners.
So in the email, he has gone and rented a Cybertruck. He's in the American Southwest. He's driving around. He's communicating with his wife 3 days before the kaboom, where he put a Desert Eagle. That makes no sense. He's a special operations guy. He is trained. His tradecraft is apparently superb. And he picks this Desert Eagle to pop himself with and then blow up.
In the last frame of that video, you see his head clearly intact.
Which means
it wasn't a 50.
Yeah.
He also had an AR with no optics or irons on it as well.
Yeah, an AR with nothing on it. It makes no sense whatsoever. And he decided to light off a vehicle-borne IED inside of an armored vehicle. We know this, and it's been proven over and over again. The Tesla Cybertruck is literally bulletproof. So he goes there. Now, he could be pulling a John J. Rambo from First Blood, not Rambo 1. It's called First Blood, people get it right, in that he wanted to send a message but not hurt anybody, because Rambo didn't kill a single person in that. There was one death, and it was accidental. And I think maybe he was sending a message. Now, for me, in this email, because he's all over the place, all of a sudden there's one thing he says. Anthony, tell me I'm wrong. The thing he says, because he told his wife, he said, people are following me. And he told Sean Ryan and those guys, or told Matthew Shoemate and those guys, people are following me. I'm being followed by one of the 3-letter agencies. He said, I have a VBIED ready to rock and roll. So that may be for personal protection. Some reason they were following him. I believe it is his whistleblowing on the 2019 war crimes that he says are big, that he has firsthand knowledge of. Anthony, is that enough to get 3-letter agencies going after him?
Yeah, if you're giving out top secret information on potential war crimes, I think you would definitely have the attention of a lot of 3-letter agencies. I don't know if you guys saw that, and I'm not sure how true it is. I thought I saw something today on X that they're pushing back that he wasn't intending to hurt people, because there was allegedly buckshot also in the vehicle now, that they're saying that he was intending to maybe hurt people. Like, why would you use the vehicle-borne IED with buckshot unless you wanted to cause more destruction? I don't know. It's interesting. Like, there's so many different narratives. Like, early on, they were talking about how his DNA did not match with his kids. And so they were trying to say that was the reason that he found out that the kid wasn't his. And so that's why he was crazy. Some people were saying maybe he was off medication. There's just so many rabbit holes to chase with this. And luckily, we have a lot of the local law enforcement that's giving out some of the information. So we don't have this veil of non-information that we got from like Pennsylvania and the Butler
New
County stuff.
Orleans.
Yeah, New Orleans and all that stuff. There was something else. I'm blanking on it. It might come up, but yeah,
I think the thing you're missing here is, and then 4 days later, Michaela I don't know how to say it, but it sounds really bad. Michaela, who is she's an Army intelligence, some sort of data collector. She's a data collection. She's an E4, E5 at Fort Bragg. And then she comes out publicly and does a public statement of, any guesses, war crimes coming out of Fort Bragg again. And so she said that she's done with it, and talking about UAPs and talking about blue on blue fratricide. Some people are saying that she's a total psyop. I don't know.
Part of me wants to think, like we said in our text thread, like the veil of secrecy is disintegrating. Like there are enough good people in high places that said, you know what, maybe I've been going along with this too long. It's time for America to actually know what's going on. I mean, that's what I really want to take place, because we didn't even mention that the first guy, the Cybertruck guy, is a Green Beret. So
out of Fort Bragg.
Right. Yeah. Because they're all special ops there. I just wish that we had transparency, and we don't have that in America. It's not going to happen. I mean, look at what happened in New Orleans. You had the mayor of the city, and I love the city. I bled for that city. The mayor now, the first interview she gave, she's like, this is a terrorist attack. And then the DEI, FBI chick with the nose ring right after that says, oh, this is absolutely not a terrorist attack. But X had already put out, everybody was putting out videos where we basically solved that before the FBI got involved, because the guy had an ISIS flag. So it's just that you can clearly see more BS cover up from the government now. And I think these two whistleblowers might actually lead to more people doing it.
I think the general like string of concern with all of this is it all leads to some sort of governmental incompetency. Like there is if it's the New Orleans guy coming in and doing that for whatever reasons that he did, for probably tied to terrorism, that wasn't flagged. Incompetency with the drone stuff and lack of information. If we do have foreign drones and balloons flying around, incompetency. We know the balloons were flying around. We know that. We knew that they hid it from Trump as well. Incompetency. And then with all these whistleblowers, the common thread with all of that is that there is concern about incompetency and risks to national security, or threats to national security, that are actively going on that our current administration is doing nothing about. And that should be like, if you're going to take nothing from everything else, if you don't want to chase the rabbit holes, there's a lot going on right now with incompetency and us as a nation being at risk from a variety of different threats currently.
I told my audience this week, I was like one thing that the further I go down rabbit holes that I learn, and that is law, is that the government's a freaking mess, and the agencies don't talk to each other. Even within the agencies, the departments don't talk to each other's, and people are messy. We know that. People are incompetent. You have they said this in Men in Black. They said one individual might be sane, but you put everybody together, ration goes out the door. One individual, I'm going to say this, one individual may be organized and have a good plan, but you put 600,000 of them together and create an organization. It's a freaking nightmare. Yeah. And these organizations are not organized.
No, and throughout my career, I've been able to work with many of them, and it's the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. In all facets of it, whether it's the guys on the ground dealing with their supervisors and above, nobody knows what's going on. There's no communication, and you can't get either one of them to work together.
And some of that's by design. Like, y'all know that I eat and breathe and sleep conspiracy stuff, or should we just call it facts? I eat, breathe, and sleep facts, because I'm 69-0. Ask your mom on conspiracies over the last year.
Mom?
Meatloaf. One of the things that I have learned in the last year is a little bit of the structure that we know about Area 51 and how they because we're saying, hey, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, and that's by accident because they're complete incompetent morons sucking off the government titty. But then there's other agencies where the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, and that's by design and the structure and the compartmentalization of info. And it's been wild over the last year reading a little bit about how they contain, and it makes sense. Like some of the stuff I've read, all of a sudden it makes sense. Okay, there are somewhere between 5 and 20 working alien ships. And when I say alien, I don't mean Mars. I'm not talking about another planet, but non-American, non-Russian, non-Chinese technology that work. They actually work in Area 51. How does that not get out? It took us 50 years to get good, clear pictures of the Bohemian Grove in California, but now we know a little bit. It takes time to get out. The Area 51, they work on this stuff, and I think some of it's by accident, some of it's by design, but these agencies, they don't have jack crap clue what is going on, and so they're not organized. I see in my brain Department of Homeland Security and or FBI and or the CIA piggybacking on the FBI or somebody from the Department of Defense because he was active Green Beret. I see that they're chasing him around the desert, following him. They probably didn't have a clue what he was doing.
If they were following him, they knew everything he was doing.
You think so?
Yeah.
They knew, but they didn't know why. Did they know?
I don't. You'll never really know.
I mean, there's all those questions about them being in his signal,
Mm-hmm.
like with the signal thing. We didn't even talk about that his user phone number had changed on Signal after the incident.
After the
incident, somebody changed his phone number. I think that's him. I don't think that's the government.
I don't know, but we also know from the Sean Ryan podcast that someone was eavesdropping on his conversations with the other guy who got the email, because there's a DEA agent who was reaching out to them to have his name redacted, even though they hadn't even released the stuff yet.
Right.
So they were in his information. They knew the conversations that were going on. They were
in his email. And then also Sean Ryan received info that the DOD was paying attention to the podcast before it even came out. They knew about the email. And that before the podcast even came out, the Army Chief of Staff, the head cheese, knew about the podcast and what was getting ready to happen before it even came out. And the whole thing does not add up.
Yeah, it's unfortunately the CIA is pretty good at what they do. Yeah, they're pretty good at what they do. They overthrow left and right. Yeah, when they want to, they're pretty good at what they do.
Yeah, and I think at this point, because everybody was trying to debunk, like Johnny had mentioned, that email, like, was it legitimate or not? I think at this point, the FBI has validated that did come from this Liversberger individual to show, like, it's a legitimate email. Because I know a lot of people were attacking Sean Ryan initially, like, why would you put it out this? Clearly it's a fake email. And it's like, no, now the FBI has said, yeah, no, it's a legitimate email. Now, whether or not you believe the contents of that email, who knows? But it was a legitimate email to send from this individual.
For me, the thing that gets my attention is both emails, the email that came in from Matthew Livelsberger and the post on X by Michaela
Fuker.
We're not saying her last name, but it's really, really not that great. It's borderline N-word, but with an F. And she said it, and he said it, is that the number of UAPs and all the UAP activity. And for the people that are not down the rabbit hole of truth like I am, UAP is just a new fancy term for UFO, unidentified aerial phenomenon. That doesn't mean little green men and little round ships, or does it? It actually probably does mean exactly that. We know this, that there are, and we've talked about it before on here, there are dozens, if not hundreds of machines that fly behind our warships. That is in the congressional record. This is not something that I'm smoking a cigarette and drawing lines on a board, though I do that daily.
Yeah, he does.
They absolutely clearly follow our warships. It looks like they follow the nuclear powered warships. They know, apparently they really monitor, and all nuclear bases have these ships, and they fly too fast. They fly too quick. They turn too fast. They do really, really weird things. And it looks like it may be the gravitic propulsion system, and that's what makes them fly so weird. Bob Lazar, who's the original whistleblower in Area 51, he said the ships that he watched in the 80s fly, it was equal to pointing when you point a laser at a wall and then move it around, you see it jump and it does things. And everybody said he was crazy. That has now been documented that is exactly how they fly. Now, something new coming out of the email from Matthew Livelsberger is that they have unlimited payload. They can carry everything at once, which is wild to think they could carry an aircraft carrier up and over the Pacific Ocean and lay it in front of California. Sorry, Anthony. But the idea that, and this stuff, some of these propulsion systems are already patented. Like we know this stuff exists, but this idea of unlimited payload, that's new. That has terrible implications for national security.
Yeah, if true.
You're saying you doubt it?
I mean,
Well,
everything you got to take that's coming out now with a little grain of salt.
Yeah, who knows? I think the interesting thing with the emails is he's not tying it to little green men. He's tying it primarily to China. And it's interesting because I'm
Little
sure you
men.
guys saw this. They just let out their 5th gen. Like we just got a glimpse of their 5th gen fighter. So it's like, okay, they're all hot and bothered about that. Are we then going to take the leap that they have something so much more modern than that and like technologically advanced beyond that 5th gen fighter that they just released and we're so happy about? And if China has something like that, then he's implying that also the US has it. And I think he said that they're launching it from submarines, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Like off the coast. I do think it's a little strange because there was that period when we were on break where everybody was so hot and bothered about the drones. And then
Not me, not at all.
Well, no, everybody was talking about it and then it just went poof.
He kept borrowing my DJIs.
Yeah.
It was Johnny out there.
I was not bothered at all. Why? Because they had federally approved lighting systems on them, the correct coloring.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think China's going to come across the border and then flip on the red and the green light.
Well, one other thing to think about this is like when you mentioned China's Gen 5, like the US had our stealth bomber and stealth fighter 20 years ago. And that was a huge leap in technology for aircraft. We didn't make that up. There's no way you could make up something just like that. And even we have battleships, cruise missile ships that have stealth technology too. It's all incremental improvements that come out. And if it's now coming out, what have they had that they don't let out yet? Like, what's the next step?
I have heard from really, really good sources, and this isn't a big surprise, is that the military has night vision that's like looking at we have a monitor right here of Anthony and everything going on in California with string cheese action. And that the night vision is in full color in real time, no more delay, and that it's literally that good now. And that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, because back 20 years ago, 25 years ago, white phos was such a big deal. Now all three of us have white phos. It's like not a big deal. It's expensive, but it's not a big deal at all. Yeah, of course they have technology. I think your word, the jump to technology, the jump from where we're at to stealth is really wild. That's one of the interesting things about what goes on in the secret communities, is that there is technology that exists that we simply don't have. Back to the Peruvian face peelers, which was one of our very first episodes, is that there is some data coming out of Peru that these guys have, and we have that at the Olympic opening when they blasphemed the Lord. They also had a guy do a flyby in one of those jet suits where they have the jet things on his arm, a little like Iron Man-ish, and jet things on his feet. We have that. You can buy one of those systems. They're super expensive. It looks like there is technology that exists from a credible source coming out of Peru that is a little bit faster, a little bit quieter, can do a little bit more, and nothing crazy. We're not talking about 0 to Mach 3, but it looks like instead of just like hopping really quickly, they can shoot off pretty fast. There's a joke in there. And I think for me, it's that your word, which was jump. Up next, we're talking about Tim Kennedy. Holy smokes, he's back in the news, boys. What is going on with that?
Wow, where do we begin?
Well, we begin at the beginning. His name is Tim Kennedy, Secret Service or Secret Special Forces, super secret squirrel stuff. He'll just ask him. He'll tell you, MMA fighter and a complete, I think the word is douche nozzle.
Adolf Hitler hunter.
He also hunted Hitler. His show is called Finding Hitler. I think it should have been called Not Finding Hitler. Writes a book called Scars and Stripes, which was a borrowed title from another book. And it looks like the whole thing was a lie.
Yeah, there's a lot of fabrication or
embellishment,
alleged embellishment of acts that other people on his team have come out and said didn't happen.
Anthony, how close are you following that? How close have you been following any of what's going on with that book?
For the most part, it's what I've followed is through our group chat with some individuals who are really, really in the know, who were really chased. I know, Johnny, you've probably chased the rabbit down the hole as well a lot. But the only thing I've watched some one-off videos of when the Anti-Hero podcast released that first podcast, and then there was some follow-up, like smaller videos. I watched those because I didn't want to sit through a 3-hour podcast of listening about Tim Kennedy stuff. Like, just that does not pique my fancy at all. Listen to 3 hours of Tim Kennedy. The most recent one they just dropped, I listened to about maybe like 40 minutes of that one, where they had, I believe, people on who are on those missions with him, wherever they were at. Yeah, and his commander. And I think the commander, from what I gathered, Tim had said some things about the commander, and that commander had done a video on, I think, Tim's
side. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were supposed to, from what I gathered, have an intro where Tim admitted that some of the things that he said were not true, and he cut it out. And then that then led the commander to be like, okay, I'm going to now go on the Anti-Hero podcast and talk about all this stuff.
It looks like there's a bifurcation. Like, okay, he writes this book, he tells his war stories, he's running around, he's got a bag of grenades, and he is doing baseball throws of grenades through windows, and he's running around just killing everybody and red misting people, and he's like, I fight for America, bang, bang, bang. And he does all this stuff, and it looks like everybody that read the book, which I have not, but all of the guys that were fought with him and that were there with him, they just roll their eyes and go, okay, he's trying to get a movie deal. Clearly, one guy's like, dude, I was in that group. We didn't use grenades because in Afghanistan, there's too much dust with grenades. Yet Tim Kennedy's like, I was throwing grenades until I was out of grenades. Then I became the grenade. So there's a bifurcation. On one side, he's embellishing these war stories. Nothing he says could have happened. He talks about having a Shytac. That's a round, a very large round. Did you shoot one of those that time at IV-88?
Mm-hmm.
I've shot one also. And it's a very, very large round. And he's like, I had a Shytac. We didn't use Shytacs overseas, and he was asked about it by Jack Carr on Jack Carr's podcast, and he totally squirted around it. It's just embellishment. And then there's the other side of the pitchfork, which is he has repeatedly for years and years now said that he has, and his words were, every combat deployment I've ever been deployed on, I have received Valor awards. Turns out that's a problem to make that up.
Yeah, it's called stolen Valor because he didn't get Valor. He didn't get a V tab on anything, a V device.
He's never gotten a V device yet. He has said publicly multiple times, I got him on every deployment.
Yep. And he also said he had a Purple Heart, and he doesn't have that either.
He said multiple times he has a Purple Heart, and that's what got the military guys stirred up. I think the grenade stuff is funny, but the actual operators, the pipe hitters, the guys that worked with him, that's a problem. How big of a problem is it?
It's huge because you're taking down the integrity of the unit, and Green Beret. The Green Berets are very proud of their history and what they do, and they don't want somebody to affect that from inside. You know, they can take BS from the outside, but it's one of the guys, who are supposed to be the sentinels that hold the unit together and keep the integrity high. He's the one who's bringing or besmirching them in a way.
I don't know what besmirching means. Anthony, let me ask you this. Does this bother you? Like, does the whole thing bother you? Or is it okay? It's just some moron operator that's trying to sell his garbage pants and his garbage operator gloves. Is it a big deal, or does it matter?
I think for me, it doesn't affect my life. So it's not that I don't really care that much. I mean, I think for me, I had put Tim Kennedy in a box a long time ago.
Is it douche box?
Gun control box?
Gun control box.
Exactly. We put him in the gun control box because, and when it comes to our specific community and the things that he said that impacts our community, and with the double check stuff and the comments on Lance Armstrong, I've kind of put him over here as like, I don't take him serious in general. I think he is running this influencer lifestyle bigger than anybody. He's essentially wants to put himself out there as Rambo, Mr. America, Mr. Patriotism. So I kind of put him over there. I think that with me, the hard thing I have to gather with all this other stuff is I don't understand like what a VTAB is, or like what are the implications of saying, hey, I got a Medal of Valor every deployment. I don't know because I never served and I'm not in that community.
Yeah.
I don't even necessarily know.
Yeah, that's a crime.
Yeah, so I don't know all of these, like how to validate or invalidate all the claims that he's made until guys in the community through the Anti-Hero podcast and people who served with him come out and spoke out against his book. Also, I've never read his book, never wanted to read his book. I wasn't even aware he had a book until this stuff came out, because I'm not the clientele who's going to be going out there saying, oh my God, Tim Kennedy put out a new book. I got to go to Barnes & Noble and get that. Like,
it's funny.
Not interested.
My wife, she's like a World War II nerd. She loves all the history surrounding it. And she had watched the Finding Hitler.
Not Finding Hitler.
Right, couldn't find Hitler. And she had bought his book not knowing how we think of him. And, we're at many events a year where he's there and we see him. And she had asked me the last 5 events that I've been to with SHOT Show and other things that companies we don't work with anymore. Hey, can you get him to sign this book? And I said, can I? Yes. Will I? Absolutely not. I will never ask him to sign my book.
Hey, Mr. Kennedy. Hey, Mr. Kennedy. Can you put the dong out of your mouth and sign this book for me? I think the big one that's the problem for me let me say it this way. I think what really got my attention, because most pipe hitters, they ignore each other. There's 1,312 of them now that have said they shot bin Laden, and they all just roll their eyes at each other. They're all selling the same garbage, and it's all the bro vet community and whatever. God bless them. Like, they seem to have fun. Like, there's some companies that have a bunch of pipe hitters or some bro vets that work for them. It looks kind of fun. It looks kind of cool. Like, go live your life, have a good time. And they seem pretty cool with each other, just saying, I killed 412 people before breakfast. But then when you lie about medals, for me, the last week and a half has been wild at how many people have come out of the woodwork to go, no, I was there. I was his commanding officer, and it's all a lie. I think for the viewers at home, it matters, and it matters to me in that I have made decisions to not work with a company for a host of reasons. The primary one is that, and I was offered 2 phone calls last year to work with a company, and Tim Kennedy is the face of that company. And I said no because of Tim Kennedy. You all both said no to that company for, I think, bigger reasons, but
he was part of it.
But he's part of it. He's a bigger slice of the pie for me.
And we have all voiced our opinions about their affiliation with him, and it being a detriment not only to that company, but also by proxy, our affiliation, our past affiliation with that company.
Yep.
Goose egg is the amount that they care. They care about the almighty dollar, which, I'm a capitalist. I love dollars too. So I understand it, though I disagree with their stance. So for me, we'll see what happens going down the road. It looks like today, I haven't seen it. You said that it looks like Tim Kennedy's lawyered up today?
Yep. He's from something we were watching right before we hit record. He's lawyered up. And then the Army also has broken their silence on this thing.
The Army has broken its silence.
Ooh, what is that? I have not seen that. What
it means to actually speak towards something.
Oh, stop it. You know what? Stop it, Johnny.
The Army, I'm going to paraphrase because I only watched it real quick. They basically said that there's no investigation at this time, but if something was said that proves to be illegal, then there will be a thorough investigation. And then they kind of like poo-pooed it. So it sounds like they're getting enough information. I mean, we know from friends we have that are very, very high in that area that things have been possibly going on in the background for a while anyway. And I got a text from my buddy that I sent to the group 2 days ago. There's definitely people who are aware of it in high places. So, well,
and it's not just that he's committing felonies by saying that he's got a Purple Heart and that he's got V devices. It's also that in the book, some of his throwing grenade stories weren't just implausible, weren't just fabricated. There's also some that, if they're true, they are war crimes, and that he is admitting to war crimes. I doubt that he did it, because what he talks about in that book, I don't even want to mention, is horrific. He's not the devil. He's a moron. But I don't think he's the devil. I don't think he's out there just popping people that are wounded in the head for no reason. Maybe. I don't know. But it's weird that he would fabricate all of that, and then this one thing has a bunch of truth. Why would he type that? Again, he's a moron. To Anthony's point, he'll never read a book. Could you imagine? I've not read one word of it. The guy, all kidding aside, all jokes aside, he's a freaking moron and like really dumb.
And he didn't have jokes aside.
What'd you say?
That was jokes aside, all jokes aside.
I'm not kidding. He's dumb. Ask me. I am qualified, and y'all know my background. I am qualified to assess people's academic prowess. Am I not?
You are.
He's a moron. He is a moron. I stand by that. Please quote me on that. Go ahead.
And he didn't have to lie to you, because of the things that he did do that are verifiable.
That's the frustrating part.
His story's awesome.
Yeah, his story's great. I mean, he was an MMA fighter for UFC, which very small percentage of the country just to do that. He was a Green Beret, a very small portion of the country just
jumps out of airplanes with guns.
It's
cool.
Whatever, he wanted to be a movie star maybe.
And then he wanted to throw grenades. So I think it's fantastic. All right, this is our first episode of the year. Anthony, I said a minute ago that y'all are both going to SHOT Show, but you got a little one coming. Are you in or out of SHOT Show?
As of right now, in this week, we have a follow-up with the doctor's office to see when the potential induction date would be. As of right now, I think 4 days after SHOT Show, the baby is expected. So,
are you dilated yet, Anthony?
I am very dilated.
Okay, good. What are you excited about at SHOT Show? What's the first booth you're headed towards?
You guys know how SHOT Show is. I mean, Johnny, you've never been to SHOT Show.
I've never been, and unless something changes, I won't, because of that week that it hits is a really weird week for me, year in and year out.
Yeah, SHOT Show is interesting for me, and I'll tell my wife. I enjoy it. I enjoy the camaraderie. I enjoy hanging out with people like Jared and all my buddies. I don't get excited to be going to one specific booth. If anything, I rarely go to booths other than to talk with friends who are in companies or relationships I have with various companies. I'll go hang out with them and talk with them. But it's not like I'm like, oh, this company's releasing a brand new AR. I got to go check that out.
It's going to revolutionize the industry.
The only thing I maybe would check out is I saw Glock has that new integrated frame optic thing that they are doing. If they have that at SHOT Show, maybe I'll go check that out.
The Aimpoint one?
Yeah,
that came out yesterday. That one was getting roasted yesterday.
The A slide.
Yeah, the A slide.
Or the A cut, whatever they call it.
Yeah, it looks really, really interesting. And also it was getting roasted. I'll tell you what also got roasted was Federal released that new 7mm backwoods, backcountry, backdoor. I don't know, it was something. And people were roasting that. John Patton's Gun Collective just destroyed it. How long will that round be? Federal released a new round yesterday called the 7mm something. It's yet another round. How long will it be around?
As long as the 224 Wild.
That's about 15 months, 18 months. Yeah, year and a half. All right, where are you headed? What booth are you excited about?
Two things. The thing I teased with Brownells is happening at Brownells booth for SHOT Show.
And that involves your bolt gun that is freaking sick.
Yep. And then the second one is I am really looking forward to going to Bull Armory. When we were in June at GunCon, they had a prototype of their Tech Comp, which is a ported and compensated full-size pistol. Think Staccato XC with extra doohickeys. And I told Ben, the vice president, Ben Rendell, I want one before it even was the final product. And they're having the final product at SHOT Show, and it's going to announce the release date.
I would like to end today's episode by just acknowledging that I threw a softball to Anthony and said, where are you headed for SHOT Show? And thought he might mention our sponsor of this episode, Brownells. He's like, I don't go to booths. I ain't going to booths. I'm hanging out with my friends and drinking.
Like I said, I'll go. I will drop by Brownells booth, but not because I'm like, oh, I want to look at this specific product. I'll go hang out with the boys. Like I'll go hang out with people.
Brownells, it's good having y'all as a sponsor. Thank y'all for the
appreciate it, guys.
I'll
drop by.
You had a good run. Thanks.
Yeah, no, Bull Armory for sure. We got to shoot that at GunCon. That was awesome. I kind of want to check out the new Kimber. They released their 2K11 or whatever. I would like to kind of finagle with that. We all always go by like the staccato boost and all that and manhandle their guns and dry fire them. And me, as in California, I oogle over the things I can't have. That's why I really don't go to booths, because it's like, ooh, I can't have that. Ooh, I can't have that. So it's like waste of my time.
Not
all right,
that attitude.
Final question. I'm going to go first, going all the way around the horn. It's the beginning of the year. What is one trip or one event, one gun thing that you were most excited about? For me, I want to get back to Valor Ridge this year. We did not go. We went in calendar year 24, but we did not train in calendar year 24. We ended up eating good food and having beverages. I want to go to Valor Ridge and train with Reed and Rachel Hendricks, and I'm really excited about your 2025. What are you excited about? One trip.
We're definitely doing Valor Ridge. That's a given, and I also want to get back out to the ranch, the Thunder Ranch.
Let's go to Thunder Ranch. That was as soon as I said Valor Ridge, I'm like, but I also want to go to Thunder Ranch. I want to go to both. Heck yeah, let's get it on the books. We haven't talked about that. Let's get it on the books. Anthony, what do you got? One trip you excited about?
I think the one I'm most excited about.
You had a minute. You had a full minute, like you knew the question was.
No, I don't know, because I'm trying to debate if. So there's two. One is gun related. One is not. I really want to go out to Ohio Range Day. So my buddy over at Achilles Heel Tactical, Rick Crowley, he hosts Ohio Range Day every year. I was supposed to go this last year, but I couldn't because I was supposed to be in Florida. So I would really like to go out there, and they do a ton of training. They bring out some of the highest quality trainers out there, and they do from night vision instruction to handgun to rifle, and they even do like fighting courses. So I'm excited for that. I would like to do that this year. And then the non-gun related one is every year First Form does their Summer Smash, which is just pure fun, where they just have a concert, and I don't really have a ton of obligations. I just go and get to enjoy, being pampered a little bit, get to go to concerts and you tour the facility and do all that stuff. So that one's really fun. That one's just pure fun. I like
What are you
that.
laughing about?
He ain't going on none of it. He's having a baby.
He's having a baby.
Yeah, no, that's also the hard thing. It's like, I don't know what I'm really going to get to do this year. So it's hard.
It's 10:14 p.m. and you're headed to Walgreens for diapers and you're going to get the wrong size. And now
I'm excited for my CVS trip to go pick up some wipes.
And now it's 10:33 and you're headed back because the baby changed sizes last week. Get the ones with the pull tabs, Lovey.
Yes.
We call him String Cheese out in California. To my left is Meatloaf and I'm Loaded Baked Potato. Together, we are the Bearded Liberty Lounge. Thanks for dropping by. However you found us, get yourself subscribed, whether it's here on YouTube or Spotify. See you soon. We're the Liberty Lounge, and we'll catch you next time.